I will call this meeting of the Extension, Education, and Communication Committee to order at 9:02. Open meeting law requirements have been met by proper posting.
Correct.
I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Yes.
Are we using our speaker system?
Yep. Need a motion to adopt the minutes of the April 22nd meeting as distributed.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Museum update. You're up, Nancy.
I suppose I better move up here and use our,
Use the mic.
Yeah.
because we're always trying to get people to listen, so. Well, there isn't a huge update. Still, there we go. Red means on, doesn't it? Yeah. Getting ready for the fair, because we have the one-room schoolhouse down there. And last year, we didn't really do anything because of COVID, but we had put new windows in on the north side, and we'd like to do the other side, but we're gonna wait a while and see, you know, what building and prices, how they go. And we're looking to get that schoolhouse repainted, so we're getting some bids for that. Again, not sure when that's gonna take place, but that's in the future. So I hope everybody comes by and visits it anyway, because we think it looks pretty good right now and pretty authentic. And the other thing is, for several years now, I've been putting historical pictures up in one of those cases in the, the upstairs there in the hallway. I'm not going to do that anymore because, number one, it's really difficult. It takes two people to open it and get the props up there. And the other thing is, I just feel like I've been cheating death, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Because those things are so dangerous, and I don't know whoever engineered them. But that's not good. Boy, if those things ever came down, and they are heavy. So I'm just not going to do it anymore. And
It would
that's,
make more sense to have those open
well, yeah.
like that rather than, yeah, I know what you mean. I've had close calls with those cases myself. Because if you accidentally knock the prop out of the
Yeah.
way, you better not be standing there.
No, so I've just decided that's enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. So that's pretty much the update. Do I have any questions?
Well, that, to me, would be a loss to not have those items in the case. I, for one, and I know there are others, had appreciated the work you did, but maybe I can talk to Jeremy Matheny about adjusting those so that they're not life-threatening.
Well, when they do the remodeling, are they going to remain like that, or are they going to be moved?
Don't know. I
Yeah.
know there's plans to have a lot of the photographs moved over to the new building, so maybe we can have amended cases moved over.
Yeah, it's
ones that
not
are
just-
a little safer.
It's not just me, but like you say, somebody can get hurt, you know? It's just, every time I did it, I was just like, I gotta do this really fast and get out from under here.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much it. And again, we're still churning out the shows for the TV station. It's kind of busy because Mary and I are really busy in the summer, but when we get a chance, we do. And we've had a lot of positive feedback because a lot of people like local history. They think that's fun. So we're going to keep doing that. And I guess, do we have any questions?
Hearing none. Thank you
Okay.
much, Nancy.
All right, I'll go.
Educator reports.
Why don't we start with Andrea? Okay, so that's what you were asking about. Pardon.
That's okay.
That's Melissa's, that's Adam's. Oh, my gosh.
Because I'll be honest, I don't remember what I put in it. It's been a
There
while.
you go. There you go.
Oh, gosh, this is stuff.
It goes, it's Blur's Day. That's my excuse for everything. Blur's Day.
Okay, so,
April or Steve, can you speak?
Hello.
Nope.
You can hear us? No?
Hold it,
There
we
we go.
can. Hang on.
no,
Okay.
How about
It's-
me?
it's
You
very-
got me?
Yeah?
Okay.
We just are going to have to be very quiet when we listen to you. Okay? I don't know what's going on with the mics. Go ahead, Andrea.
all right, so, yeah, summer programming is in full swing now. Actually, just this week alone, I've been all the way down to Jefferson County and back to do area animal science days for the state. They needed educator help, and this is something I'm hoping we can do next year, either in Trempealeau or Jackson County. I'm not sure yet. I personally like judging contests and livestock stuff like that is like, that's my good spot. So I'm like super excited to do something with it. So, yep, that's what I've been doing. If not, I'm also working on getting some more summer programs. I'm going to be very busy. And I know I've said this before in committee meetings. I'm everywhere and nowhere at once. And Michelle said that to me when I walked in. She's like, you've been like, oh, here you are, Andrea. Welcome back kind of thing. So I've added a couple things. Oh, I didn't add them on here actually. Shoot, of course. I've added a couple extra summer programs for both counties this summer. I want to do family nights, which will be like a more casual, we're just going to have a bunch of projects available, mainly so that people can get to know me, because I know that COVID made it really hard to start a new position in a new county. I do know people in the county, and I have been getting to know them better, but there's a lot of families that I may not have a reason to meet yet because I'm not in a space where they can meet me and just talk. So, actually next week, June 30th and July 1st, I can't remember which one is which, but I have both Trempealeau and Jackson County will have programming for the family fun, or the family nights. I'm mainly just going to have it be like casual programming. I've got one of the lesson plans I've talked about previously that I helped create was Plarn mats, where you take plastic bags and then you crochet them into a mat to help homeless populations. I'm going to have stuff like that available so that we can work on that together, because sadly, even though I helped make the curriculum, I haven't made the mats. A very lovely 4-H'er up in Eau Claire County did a lot of that and made the videos. So we're going to work on that together, because what do we do best in 4-H? We learn by doing. So that's honestly, I live by that motto. So we're going to do some of that. I've got some really cool STEM science stuff that I'm going to nab from Adam's magical office full of STEM science stuff. And we're also going to do quite a bit of some fun arts and crafts activities. So it's going to be pretty much anything for any age group, because normally when I plan a program, I say, okay, what are the ages? What should I do? What should their abilities be? And then I plan around that. I'm going to try and hit all the age groups so that even adults can do something, because we're doing family stuff in 4-H. We're not just for one age group. So I've got 2 of those, one for each county planned. And then after that, we're going to hit July really hard because I've got a Cloverbud Day Camp right away in July. So yeah, if we look at my report, actually, the July, the Jackson County Day Camp, that did not happen. But we'll do the Trempealeau County July Day Camp right away. And then we're going to do science camp. I'm helping Adam all 3 days, which I'm super excited about, because STEM and ag and stuff like that are like where I'm really happy. And so I've already got some really awesome food science stuff that I'm going to do. I think we're going to make some cheese. Ricotta is what I decided on, Adam. I haven't told him yet. We're going to make some ricotta out of whey, because food science is the best science because you get to eat it. So we're going to do that. And then I've got some Cloverbud day camps. And then I have a gardening camp in Jackson County, but that's because I had a volunteer ask for that specifically. But the nice thing about day camps is once I have them planned and I have a schedule set out, I can do them later at other locations. So I don't know about this summer, but I think next summer we'll be doing a gardening day camp here in Trempealeau County too. So that's a lot of what I've got going on for like the 4-H side of it, beyond fair questions, because those have been slowly rolling in. I'm still working on, with my club leader support group, we're doing policies and bylaws review. We finally gotten to the point where we have decided what policies mean and what bylaws mean. And so what we're going to do now is create essentially a tip sheet for each, because I've noticed a lot of clubs and groups, they struggle with creating policies and bylaws because it's not something that everyone is keen on. I look at policies and bylaws a lot. I know you guys on the county board, you really rely on policies and bylaws to run your meetings and make sure that you're following the right rules. 4-H clubs do too, but they're not always the best, and sometimes they make a policy or a bylaw with the best intentions in mind, but it also limits others at the same time. And so I'm hoping that we can create a list of like, here are some good ideas for a policy on enrollment. Here's how this one would roll into as a bylaw, because they're also thinking that policies and bylaws are the same thing, and they're not. So I'm working on I'm working with a group at the state level to create some of that, and we're finally getting to the point where we're hoping to have it done by fall and have it reviewed. So that's exciting, because I know I've talked about it quite a bit, but it's something that I want, because I've seen it in clubs in both counties where I'm like, ooh, that's not a good policy, or that's actually a bylaw. I have a good example of one. I was with a group, and they're sitting down, and they're like, okay, Andrea, do we have quorum? I'm like, well, I don't know. Can I see your policies? Do you have your bylaws? And they're like, oh, yeah, here we go. First off, the sheet was all in different fonts and different colors, and I'm like, ooh, this is at the early beginnings of Microsoft, I see. So it's dating itself already. And then for the voting members section, it just said, anyone who is present in the meeting is a voting member. So I'm like, okay. So I looked through the rest of the bylaws, and I'm like, where does it define voting members? It didn't. So anyone who walked into that meeting at that very moment was a voting member, and I'm like, we can't have that. So that's one of the things that I think about when I'm like, we need to fix this, just for the best intentions of people. So, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I talked a lot, but do you guys have any questions for me?
Your STEM camp, where's that going to be held?
That'll be at Petrix,
Okay.
and it's Adams. I'm just part of it, but I keep it on there. Well, it's everyone's, I guess, but
Everyone's. Yeah.
Pretty much everyone's.
it's all
Good.
hands on deck kind of thing.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Adam, do you want to go next? I'm sorry if I'm like the time police, but remember, we need to be done by 10, so. But this is the important part, the educator reports.
Yep.
Hello. So again, I'm a youth development educator as well as a family educator. So I've got those kind of two halves in my role. For the youth side of things, I'm doing generally weekly library programs. I'm assisting the summer schools with curriculum and material support to do a lot of their work. One thing that we see specifically, we'll hear from I think one of our interns as well, is kind of the passive benefit of hiring an intern. Is one of our interns from a few years ago is now working for the Blair Taylor Summer School program, and she was the one who developed a lot of our material and curriculum, and she informed the teachers there that it was a resource to them, and now they are making use of it to benefit the students in their care. So we see the continued benefit of our intern expenditure dollars at work there. And then, upcoming the summer science camp, that has a lot of volunteers and it has a lot of extension staff involved with that. Within a week, we were able to reach our maximum cap, and we've had to be turning people away ever since. On the human development side, there's a lot of coalition work that's been done. So one is the jail reentries. So if you have these folders, this is something we've been putting a lot of volunteer hours as well as extension hours into, kind of putting together resources for folks and getting it into their hands. And that's what extension is all about, is partnerships, finding the resources that other groups have, but maybe they don't have the reach, or maybe they don't have kind of the penetration into certain populations, and we do, and we have the big picture so we can pull those resources together, get them to people when they need it. So take a look through these. If you want to keep them, that's great. I think one of the things looking through this that you might find is these are really challenges that people have when they're coming back into the community, and maybe make you think about why that is, and what we can do within our community to do this. Because a lot of this is stigma stuff that it's addressing. And if we have a concept of them being community members who have served their time, rather than a sheet of paper that walks around with them on their chest their whole lives, we can do a lot to change that locally. Additionally, working on bringing in new programming to the jail. So right now, I'm kind of it, along with Bible study and AA. We're bringing in financial education from RECU. We're bringing in relationship education from local clergy members. So there's a lot of room to grow and a lot of needed support that's been identified by that population. They say we need programs, we need programs. If we sit here and nothing changes, then when we get out, nothing changes. Looking at the trauma-informed care group that I'm a part of, it's getting a lot of ACEs, so adverse childhood experience education, into the broader community. So I've been meeting with libraries, going to the basements of churches, in the evenings to talk with church councils, and having conversations about what the effect of trauma is to a family, to a person, to a community. And you've got older farmers in there that talk about dealing with alcoholic parents or neglect or different things like that, and having a frank conversation about that effect that has on people, and then allowing them to transfer that forward or on to other people that maybe they don't normally associate with the people on that side of town, or that sort of concept. And it allows them to change it from what's wrong with you to what happened to you in the past. And I think that's an important distinction. And if we can all start wrapping our heads around that, then it becomes less of a problem child or a problem patron or a problem constituent, and it becomes more of asking questions and listening to them to see where they're coming from and what happened to them, rather than it's a personality trait. So with NAMI, we received a grant, and we'll be using that grant to set up peer support groups and family support groups within our county locally, to allow families who maybe have a serious or any sort of mental health concern with their children or within their family, to let them know that they're not alone, and to collaborate with other folks locally to provide local support. Same with a peer group, people who have any sort of mental health diagnoses, including substance use, to come together, talk, have somebody else around to support them. With the CJCC, so that's the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council here, we've been working to bring in expert guidance from Chippewa and Eau Claire counties to kind of talk us through a lot of organizational things to reach the full potential of that group, because it's every head of every justice-involved group, and they've identified clearly areas that they want to improve upon, and we need to be there as Extension to help move that forward. The Alliance for Youth, we're looking at providing grant funding and support for this year. We've been able to acquire a lot of grants that I've written for over the last 3 or 4 years, and now we're ready to kind of disperse that in a meaningful way. The last thing I want to say is, looking at all this coalition work and kind of what it does, there's kind of 2 things that we don't think about with it that are very strong benefits. One is, when writing for grants, school districts, organizations, they need collaborators. They need to be seen that they're working with people within the community. In Extension, as soon as they reach out to us, we connect them with 20 other organizations, and that makes grant writing that much more successful, bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars to our communities, because Extension is a part of that collaboration. Additionally, when we look at things like the Youth Alliance, the Jail Reentry Coalition, we make a specific need to include people from that community. So we're including youth in the Youth Alliance. Kind of an amazing concept, but you don't want the people in this room to be like kids these days, right? Because we don't know. Same with the Justice Involved group. We could all sit here and talk about what they need, right? But we're including those people in the conversation telling us. And I think that that's something critical that Extension does.
Thanks for all the work you're doing.
Thanks to you all as well.
For years, Trempealeau County Jail, as other county jails in the state and the nation, they're just holding facilities with absolutely nothing going on. I had talked to an individual one time that I knew well and had arrested several times, and we developed a relationship, and he said, county jail is the hardest time to do. He had an eyesight problem that had not been identified. He couldn't read or write. He said, I can't see the television, I can't read a book. What am I supposed to do for 24 hours a day? He just paced. You know, and when you're there for 6 months, that's a lot of pacing. And that kind of opened my eyes. But I think we're headed in the right direction, and it's amazing it took us this long to figure this out.
Yeah, just this week, I've had people say, I want to go to prison. I don't want to stay in jail. Like, I would love to go to prison because then I know, right? I don't have that chronic stress of like, what is going to happen to me, and getting, for our jail, getting shuffled around to a bunch of other counties. And in the process, all their stuff is bagged up. They get to that other county, you're not allowed to have it. They've got to start from scratch. And then it gets back here, not allowed to have that stuff, start from scratch. And I've had another person, you know, this is yesterday and the day before, people talking to me about this. Another lady who was maybe misdiagnosed or wasn't listened to about the mental health concerns that she had and medication within our health systems, because it's a rural health system and maybe we don't have the resources to give her 3 days of inpatient care. And because of that, she was in an altercation and she winds up in the jail because we were unable to meet her mental health needs. And we saw that in the paper. There was an article a couple months ago that said, we need help, and for the sheriff's department.
It's unfortunate, through my career, when the economy kind of lags, mental health treatment also goes down, and the number of the mentally ill in the county jails goes up, because that's where we put people who have issues rather than treating them for the problem. We got to change that, too. Yeah. Don't hold our breath.
Big challenges, big
Yeah.
challenges. I'm going to ask the FoodWise mavens to share their work with us. And ladies, I'm sure you have a strategy and a plan.
Yeah, good morning. I'll get things started for us. So I'll summarize because I know our time is short, but you have both of our months' information in your packet. So one of the really big things we did in the last couple of months is we worked with the Western Dairyland Head Start programs to offer a virtual reducing food waste, which saves money on food program. The positive of this virtual timeframe is we're able to offer programming to multiple centers at the same time. So we actually had 3 centers of families joining us in our virtual programming. We had 11 families that were able to participate, and those families also then received a bag of groceries to make the things that we talked about during our presentation. So we have a Cooking Matters grant that continues through the end of December that is letting us be able to do that. So that was a really great opportunity. The other opportunity that this program helped us to provide was we did a simultaneous translated session in Spanish. So it was our first time doing that with the UW-Madison translation team. So now we know how to do that process. We're working on some things to make it a little more smoother for everyone. And so we can do that now moving forward. So we can offer that English session and then a session that can be simultaneously translated. So we would teach and then the translator would be on the line saying the materials in Spanish. So really great opportunity to reach out to our program participants. Other big things in our last couple months, working on fiscal year 22 budget materials. So I know that sounds weird, but FoodWise is on a October 1st to September 30th program year. So that means that we are kind of past that midway point. And now we're working on our plans for fiscal year 22. So worked on all of those budget materials, got them submitted to the state, did any revisions that needed to be done, and now we're just waiting for the final stamp of approval for what our plans are. The other thing we did in our months in our reports is our 4K virtual lessons, planning those and conducting those with our partners. And then we were able to share then those materials statewide with our colleagues. So we were taking all of our virtual lessons and really helping others throughout the state so that they don't have to recreate the wheel. So we have all these wonderful resources in a FoodWise SharePoint site that we can all go in and take a look at what others are doing and utilize some of those. So we've shared those statewide. And then another opportunity that came my way for 4K lessons, our FoodWise state program had its review with the USDA and Food and Nutrition Services. And I was asked, I think I was one of 7 who was asked to be observed during that week-long observation time with that group. And so they joined me on my virtual 4K lesson. And so I was part of that whole review process to show what we were doing with our lessons virtually and how we are reaching out and still engaging with, especially those youth as a 4-year-old. So it was a great representation of what we're doing here in our project. So I'll turn it over to Sandy so she can add in some of her additional things.
Okay, I'm Sandy Woody, and I work here in Trempealeau County. The first time I'm meeting you in person. Hello. So, we're doing most of our stuff together. I work with the food pantries a little bit. So during the epidemic, the food pantries went way up, and then it started to come down because we have food share coming in, but the pandemic help. Just recently, they passed for kids, and I have to read it out loud. Children who are eligible for free and reduced priced meals will receive a standard benefit of $3.75 per child for the summer months. So that actually passed. So that'll really help that there's enough money coming into that family to feed those children, even if they can't be involved in getting all the way into a school district, which may be a long distance to go in just to pick up some free meal someplace. So that just goes on a Quest card, and then they can just scan it at the grocery store, and it's not the big food stamps like it used to be. So it's a whole new system out there, and the pandemic has changed a few things, and the whole pandemic has changed how food share is doing things. So we'll see where that settles out. The pantries themselves had gone drive-through when COVID hit, because we couldn't have any contact. The TFAP one down at the Trempealeau Care Center, the old Trempealeau Care Center, that one, TFAP is asking them to stay drive-through through October, just because we don't know where the COVID is going. Some of the small food pantries are in person. The disadvantage of drive-through is, you come through and you get 5 cans of beans and and you get home and you go, I don't want to eat 5 cans of beans, and you're stuck with them, But we prefer that personal choice, but until everything settles down, that's what we're seeing. Pantry numbers have come down in the last couple months, partly because there are more jobs and, the SNAP benefits are helping a little bit, but realize there's not that many people that actually qualify for SNAP. I mean, you have to really not have a lot of resources in order to get SNAP. It's not just a big giveaway program. So anyway, I'm working with food pantries as we review our policy, how are we going to deal with the drive-through and food balances and stuff. So lots of good resources out there, but we'll keep it short. So thanks. Nice meeting you all in person.
Any questions for Sandy or April?
I come from the old school,
Work.
where the rations in the 40s.
Yep.
Yeah, where the food's,
You got what you got.
I gotta ask one question, the lady up there, she said with Head Start, I'm with Western Dairyland, we got Head Start too.
Yeah, that's,
Are you connected, you work with them or?
Yeah.
With Western Dairyland? Okay. Because their last month's grant, we got over $3 million.
They do a lot of nice services.
Oh, yeah,
for the
they do a
kids.
lot of very
It's
nice
incredible.
services, yeah.
And we come in and can do nutrition lessons with both the kids and the families. So that's part of it.
There's money out there.
so Melissa, Steve, who wants to go next? Let's have Melissa go.
Gonna say ladies first.
Ladies first.
Okay, so I could just report on my week in a nutshell, because that would give you an idea of all the programming that I've been doing, because it's been a week. On Wednesday, I don't know if I can share my screen or even
I
if
have
did
to
it.
let you do that. Hang on a second.
On Wednesday, I traveled up to Ashland County to Washburn. I was working with some colleagues up there to do an agricultural plastics recycling event. I received a Sustainable Agriculture Research mini grant to do a couple collection events. We had one in Trempealeau County a few years ago, and the northern part of the state is really underserved with recycling services, and they also have a lot of marinas up there that use plastic. So I traveled up there, and I'll show you, this is the site. They were having a clean sweep event at the same time, and this doesn't show all of it because there's still some plastic outside of the picture, but this is most of the plastic that I collected that day. These are the two organizers for the event, and they were a little freaked out about the amount of plastic. And I'm like, but the point is to collect lots of plastic so it's not burned or ends up in a landfill. So I'm right before this meeting, I was working with a trucking company to come and pick it up because there's a company that makes composite decking, and they the DNR actually had put them in touch with me, and they said, we'll take any plastic you can collect. So I said, deal. And then I also am having them stop at a marina that's up there that has about this amount at the marina too that I did not want at the site, because this is actually at a highway shop, and the highway shop manager has been very lovely, but this is also his wife who's coordinated the event, so maybe he has to be nice. But they just want to make sure that the plastic is going somewhere. So I've been working on the logistics of that, and I'll tell you, working on logistics makes me not want to quit my day job to go into that field. So that was a long day, but it was kind of fun to do something outside. The weather's gorgeous. You can see the bay right back there. So it was kind of a fun day, and it's been different to be on the road again. In addition to that, yesterday I was asked to speak at the Competitive Wisconsin Conference, which was on getting good investment out of the ARPA funds. And so here's me smiling away because there is former Governor Tommy Thompson giving the keynote for the conference, and he's currently the interim president for the UW system, so he's like my top boss. So I was asked to speak at that conference by Mike Colas, who is the head of the Wisconsin Towns Association, and I was on two panels with the UW La Crosse Chancellor and the UW Superior Chancellor, and then some county administrators, a mayor. They kind of had a mixed group. I came to the courthouse to present at this conference in my office where I have, where I thought I had stable internet and peace and quiet. And while I was there, the courthouse internet crashed and took me out of the panel, and I could not get back in. So this conference was meticulously planned by the Competitive Wisconsin group, and now I'm going, as soon as we're done with this meeting, I'm going to email the organizer an apology about why, even though they prepped me and planned, why I suddenly dropped off and was not available to participate. Very, very frustrating, and there was nothing I could do. Pat gave me her phone, and I was able to log in, and the panel had just ended. So pretty disappointing that had to happen. But one of the things we had talked about in this group was the need for broadband. So maybe like I was just an example of all the bad that can happen. Another thing that I did this week, I'll stop sharing unless you want to keep looking at former Governor Thompson and I. Another program I have this summer is an 8-week childcare business development course, and I'll tell you, in that in the panels I was on yesterday, childcare really rose to the surface. And if you want to watch that conference was recorded, but it was meant to advise municipalities about how to plan on using their ARPA funds. So one of the things was childcare. So I have been doing an 8-week childcare business development course for people who are interested in starting childcare businesses or even existing businesses that just want to learn more about how to run their business efficiently. And that was a grant that we received from the Small Business Development Center. So that's been an 8-week course that goes the duration of the summer. The other thing that I've done with the ARPA funding is the deadline for municipalities to apply for their designated amount of funding was last Friday. And the Department of Revenue had been tracking the municipalities and how they, whether they had submitted their requests or not. And they sent us a spreadsheet and they said, hey, these people haven't filed yet. Like, you don't want to leave this money on the table. Like, this is money that can help your community. And there's pretty loose stipulations about what it can be spent on. It can't be spent on roads, which, you know, like I'm on a town board, every penny we spend basically is on roads, and we could use more. This can't be spent on roads for the most part, but it's kind of looking at what else could you spend it on that you need. So when I received this spreadsheet, I noticed there were 4 municipalities in Trempealeau County that had not yet filed as of, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. So what I did is I emailed, you know, I know the clerks because I'm also a town clerk, and I emailed all of those clerks, and then I CC'd Paul Severson, and I said, hey, I noticed that you haven't filed. Is there anything I can do to help you? And I'll tell you, I spoke to all 4 of those municipalities, just like a couple, it was tech issues and just not knowing how to do it. And so I walked a couple people through it on the phone, and everybody got filed. As of Friday morning, we had 100% completion, so that felt really good. And then Clark County is my other county. There were a lot of municipalities that had not filed yet, and then that improved from Thursday to Friday. And then with Pat's blessing, I also reached out to Jackson County and Buffalo County because I do election training for their clerks. And I did get several calls and emails from Jackson County just asking me to either look over it, make sure they had it right, or to help them with some other issues. So that felt good to be able to help other towns and in a couple cases, a couple villages with applying for those funds that have been designated to them. And then some Trempealeau County specific stuff that I've been doing is we have that water testing program that's ongoing where people can stop in at Dairyland Labs and get a water test. I also have a 3-year study of some designated wells, and that is taking place this summer. So those households that are participating, we have about between 100 and 120 that will be participating for their 3rd year, and that's to track water quality changes in the county. So that testing date is this summer. So we've been coordinating with that. I'm lucky that Katie, who had been our intern for a couple years, she did a really good job at organizing that, and so she came in and was able to help with that project too. So I'm lucky to have her. So those are kind of some of my highlights of the most recent programming, and I have a couple more ongoing things looking ahead just for the summer. But any questions for me? Can turn it over to Steve then.
Steve-O.
Okay, so I think you've got my written report in there that covers April or May, something like that. But since then, since I wrote that report, I've conducted pesticide applicator training for 11 people at Superior Fresh, that hydroponic fish raising operation in Northfield. The people I trained were the outside people, and I asked them what they did and what they worked on and why they needed pesticide applicator training, and nobody gave me an answer. So I think they're into some top secret FBI, CIA type stuff out there. But anyway, it was good to get back in front of live people again. So I joked with Michelle that come winter, after I've done how many pesticide applicator trainings to get caught up on the last 2-year backlog, remind me that it was good to get back in front of people. But Also, I've got a nitrogen test plot in Trempealeau County on Cross Road between Whitehall and Independence, Arcadia area. I fertilized that last week, and that's coming along nice. We got some rain then on the fertilizer, so that should help. So what that plot is it's a part of a statewide effort to help farmers determine the optimum nitrogen rate. So as crop yields increase due to better genetics and other technologies, the thought is that we still need 1 pound of nitrogen per bushel of expected yield. And these plots are out there to provide evidence as to what the appropriate nitrogen rate would or could be. And so we go from 0 nitrogen on up to 200 pounds of nitrogen per acre in small plots. They're 10 feet wide, 40 feet long. We hand harvest the middle 2 rows out of those plots, and then weigh the yield and adjust for moisture and all that. And then not only are my local plots statistically analyzed, but it's put into the state database and also the entire upper Midwest database. So it's really leveraging local efforts on a state and regional scale also. So we get a lot of good data out of those plots. I tried to get one in Jackson County this year with the fast spring that we had. The nitrogen was spread across the entire farm that I was going to put the plot on, and we have to have 0 nitrogen in some area just so that we can measure response. So I was not able to get one in Jackson County. Also planning an organic crop field day this will be in Jackson County, just outside of Black River Falls. That'll be August 5th. So had a lovely Zoom call yesterday with Erin, can't think of her name now, Erin from UW-Madison. She's a organic crop specialist there, and Will Peasley. So it will be on the Will and David Peasley farm just outside of Black River Falls. So we're planning that, putting that together for August 5th. So that's what's happening.
Any questions for Steve? His wife is doing pretty well. Came home early.
Yeah, so she got out of the hospital. She was supposed to be in for 7 to 10 days. She got out in 4 days because she's responded well to the treatments. We're just waiting for a bone marrow match now to do the transplant. So that's where that is. So thank you, everybody, for your support and understanding while we go through this. It really means a lot to me. So.
If you have no specific questions for him, Caitlin was planning on being here today. I know that's why we scheduled the Jackson County meeting for this day. Only her partner decided to go hunting, deer hunting with their car, and so she can't travel. So I told her to take the day off. And she had some time she had to use up. She does have her report in here. She is putting together some promotional materials. She's planned a number of programs, both with Adam and with Andrea, and they're working on a series of events with Steve. And she has her schedule laid out. So I've asked her to, make sure she checks voicemails and emails regularly. So she takes an hour on Monday and Tuesdays to do that. And Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays she'll be in the Trempealeau County office. Thursdays in the Jackson County office. And then she does some work on Friday morning. And there are some lovely pictures on her report. And we'll really work to actually give you the opportunity to meet her in person. Do you have any questions? And then now we're ready to go to the interns. So if you take it away. I'm being bossy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can continue if you'd like.
No, I will let Isabella introduce herself.
Okay.
I'll just pass this around. Ugh.
This is Isabella Mooney.
Thank you.
From the Arcadia area, and she is this year's intern, summer intern. Thanks, Izzy.
Hi, my name is Isabel Mooney. So I'm from Arcadia, Wisconsin. I'm going to school in Decorah, Iowa at Luther College. So I'm going for a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a social studies endorsement. So I've done a lot so far already, and it's only the first month. So I've done a lot of inventory. We've also been doing a lot of program planning already, since our summer is always so busy with programs, and especially since last summer we were not able to do a lot of programs. We want to be able to give as many opportunities as possible. And with programs comes a lot of research for those programs and making sure we have programs that fit our age groups and fit the age groups' needs. So continuing on in the summer, we're doing more programming. So currently I am planning the Cloverbud Day Camp. So that goes up to second grade. So it's kindergartner through second grade. So that is July 8th. Science camp, that's again a all hands on deck type of thing. And then our family nights are the other thing I'm helping plan. So our first one of those is on June 30th, and that's the Trempealeau County, and then Jackson County is the first. And then we have to do more research and planning for those as well. So a lot of lesson planning and making sure they're age appropriate. And with science camp, we have a wide age range from 1st to 5th grade. So making sure they can fit that whole age range. So what do I want to learn? Why did I apply for an internship? So obviously I have worked jobs before, but I've never worked in this setting. So I really wanted to learn what it's like to work in a professional setting before I went out into the workforce. I also wanted to learn how to receive constructive criticism, because that is how you learn and grow. I think constructive criticism is so important, and it's important to learn how to take it and learn how to ask for it. I also want to learn new skills, like how to write reports. Obviously, I've done a lot of school reports, but obviously I haven't written like meeting reports. I also want to improve my communication skills and working with others. So also with this position, there's a lot of adaptability. So sometimes things don't always go as they want to. So things don't always go to plan. So we have to learn to adapt. And so I also want to learn how to be more adaptable. Do I have any questions?
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
Good. We are going to have to postpone number 8 because we do have to be out of here by 10. There's another meeting. So I will go to number 9 if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay. I did have to ask what this was about. In your packet, you have a letter from Colleen Bates, who is the president of the Wisconsin Extension Association. None of you have been on our committee long enough to remember what used to be called WASAC, which was Wisconsin Association of County Extension Committees. And it was the organization for those extension oversight committees to meet, to do some professional development and learn about the organization and work to support extension work. With the university extensions reorganization, that organization reorganized as well, It took them a while to get their sort of basic stuff, but they're off and running. And they have a board of directors that met on the 5th. And basically, this is a letter from Colleen, who's the new president. And she is just welcoming everybody aboard and asking us to pay our dues, annual dues, which are a whopping $50, which is the same as it was years ago. So I think really the only action that we need is for you to authorize us to pay the dues.
I make a motion that we pay the $50.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Carried.
We have always pulled that out of our budget because $50 we can generally afford. Michelle included our budget update, and we are doing well. Hopefully, we haven't run out of money this early. Again, we've paid our, oh, that's a good show. Yes, we paid the first half of the year for the professional services, which is your share of the cost of the extension educators. But everything else should be in line, should be going well. Obviously, we're going to have some places where, up until now, we haven't been expending a lot of money, largely the travel and supplies. And that's where we are. We keep a good eye on that budget.
Okay.
So all we need now is to set a meeting date.
Fourth Thursday is the 22nd of July,
7/22
9 a.m.
at 9 a.m.
This room,
if we can.
if we can. All right.
The date again, please?
July 22nd.
22nd.
Yep, at 9. And although we'll be officially back on July 6th, I'd like to continue to offer these as Zooms. If I have educators traveling, it's easier. If other people need to go in.
I strongly believe that we should continue to use the technology that's available to us, and even if COVID disappears
It's a handy dandy.
completely, it's very useful and comes in handy. I think we should continue to use it.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:54 a.m.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
If you, to committee